All right, you're all set.
Okay, the meeting of the Water Commissioners is called to order on May 6th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A-18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Board of Washington Commissioners will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or of parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Office of the Attorney General's webpage. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. The town will preserve to use conference call capabilities regularly for the other parties to listen in and participate accordingly. If not possible, we will post the town's website on the town website an audio recording as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, roll call. Chairman Ed Johnson, present. Commissioner Dave Mezwar.
Present.
Commissioner John Kane.
Present.
Okay, DPW Director Randy Brown.
Yes, here.
Office Manager Christy Mayette.
Present.
Okay, public comment. Okay, seeing none. John and Dave, have you reviewed the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes, I have.
Okay, can I have a motion on the floor to accept as read?
I make a motion to accept the meetings as written.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Ed Johnson, yes.
Dave Mezwar, yes.
John Kane, yes.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, review of the Water Commissioner, signing of the commitments and elderly applications. We've got quite a few of them, I think. What do we got? 6 of them, Christy? Elderly rate,
Yes,
Yep.
6.
and they all meet the requirements, correct?
Yes.
Okay, we got Francis William, John Pazek, Dean Shaw, Raymond Foisey, Roderick, however you spell that, Leon Chuck, and Doris Tipton. Can I have a motion to have these people go to the elderly rate?
I make a motion to accept the elderly rate applications for the 6 applicants listed.
I have a second.
I second the motion to accept.
Okay, all in favor? Ed Johnson, yes.
Dave Mezwar, yes.
John Kane, yes.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we got the commitments. I've reviewed them all, and have you reviewed them, Dave and John? The commitments?
minutes?
No, the commitments.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And we'll just sign them at a later date.
Okay.
Okay, Randy, DPW Director's report, please.
Okay, I got a few things to talk about. First item is water bills were sent out about 2 weeks ago. They are due on May 17th. For this billing period, a total of $468,929 was billed out, and compared to about $428,350 this time last year. So an increase of about was it $60,000? A little less than that. That said, there was slightly less water usage over those past 6 months, versus compared to the prior 6 months. Item 2, Chrissy and I met with Michelle Hill, tax collector, a week and a half ago to talk about the process for shutoffs. So if you remember last year, we were not able to go through this process because of the governor's order at the time, the governor's COVID-19 order. That regulation has since been lifted. So we can, and we do plan on starting the shutoff process shortly, either the late spring or early summer. And we haven't seen the numbers yet, but I suspect that there's probably going to be more people on the list this year than we have in past years, just primarily because last year we could not get through that process. Item 3, we talked about this at the last meeting. The planning board received plans for the development at 686 College Highway. This is the 90-acre parcel. It's across from DPW garage, and they would be a pretty significant water user. Their public hearing is scheduled for May 27th. So I have done a preliminary review of the plans. I'm still waiting for some more information, but in terms of water systems, obviously they are aware of the moratorium that's in place now. We're going to talk a little bit more about that tonight. But if they are granted a connection, they would be looping that pipeline from College Highway to Tannery Road and then stubbing off that loop to serve their facility. Item 4 is we're still waiting from Census to update the RNI software. We kind of been waiting on this for probably 3 or 4 months now. Not sure what the delay is, but it's not affecting anything that we're doing right now. We're just waiting on Census to get to that task order. Item 5 is a follow-up or kind of a carryover from last meeting. We do need to take lead and copper samples at the schools. As you remember, there were some high lead samples at one of the locations last fall. So we'll follow up and take those results, take those sample results. Item 6, at our last meeting, we talked about the Pfas testing, the first round of Pfas testing on wells 1 and 2. There was a small defect in that test, and in accordance with Mass DEP guidelines, we did do some confirmatory samples, which were taken on April 5th. And we have this listed under, I think, old business tonight. So I'll wait till we get to old business, talk about the details of that confirmatory sampling. Item 7, Emil Pastilla of Sigma Water is resuming his backflow inspections for the springtime. We did get one packet of reports from him maybe a week ago or so, and he's continuing on with those inspections throughout the summer, throughout the spring and summer. Item 8, I got a call maybe 3 weeks ago from a realtor. You remember the George Hankin property? Ed, you may remember this. This came up probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yes, I did.
There's a large parcel that abuts the wells. They have a small frontage access off Lexington Circle. The family is, George Hankin passed away, so the property is now I think there's 3 or 4 siblings that own the property, and they're trying to figure out what to do with it. One idea they've molded over in the past is to, I don't think they're looking to donate it, but sell it to the town for water conservation purposes. When I talked to the realtor, I told them, the family, they went through this process 5 years ago, and we thought there was an opportunity to purchase some property, at least some of it, through a drinking water supply protection grant. We'd actually started the process of applying for that grant. And then I got a call from one of the siblings say that, all siblings couldn't agree upon what they wanted to do with the property at that time. So we pulled that application off the table. But it sounds like that may be back on the table. But I told the realtor, you need to make sure that all the siblings are fully on board with whatever you plan on doing. And if there's an option for the town to be a part of a similar application like last time through a drinking water supply protection grant, then I think we would be amenable to it. So I told the realtor to kind of let me know where they're at. So I have not heard back yet. So I'll just kind of keep this on the back burner for now until I hear something.
Okay.
Item 9. We're replacing the drainage line on Cedar Street, and in conjunction with that project, we're going to extend the water main to the end of the road. There will be installing a new hydrant as well. We can use that for flushing purposes. And item 10 is the customer portal survey. So we sent out the water bills, and included with the bills was a letter, a 2-sided document, and one side what talked about this customer portal survey and asking residents to fill it out. So we did that, and we got 103 responses so far. So we figured we'll keep it open till the next meeting, and then we can talk about the results at that time.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Work order summary is pretty simple. Water turn-ons, miscellaneous service. Okay. What else we got here now? Is William Strain here yet, Christy?
He's not present. He was notified and he wasn't sure if he was going to attend or not.
Okay. We want to go ahead and address that now, seeing that it's almost 6:15, so we might as well.
You want to give him like 5 minutes then? It's about,
Okay, we'll give it,
it's
yeah,
10 after. Why don't we give him 5 minutes and then we can
okay.
talk about it?
All right, so why don't we go with the old business, Randy?
Yeah, what's the old business item?
Water moratorium
Well, okay,
discussion,
moratorium.
the
Okay, yep.
testing and the location of the water meter upgrades.
All right, so we can talk about the moratorium. So we put the moratorium in place last August.
Right,
And then I think a couple meetings afterwards, the board agreed to re-look at that, revisit that moratorium
that's
at the May
correct.
meeting. So that's
Right.
where we're here today. I did prepare a table, which I think might be helpful for the discussion. Chrissy, can you pull this up on the screen?
Yep.
I put together a table showing the total water use broken down by month since 2016, including the first 4 months of 2021. And then I included some numbers here where I think, our current capacity is compared to where our future capacity is with some improvements. So if you look at this chart here, the lower lines, the lines at the bottom, I know they're different colors. But there's on the top left of the table, there's a chart which tells you what each line stands for. So you can see the years 2016 through 2021. If you look at the kind of the green color, that's the usage from last year, 2020.
Mhm.
And then if you look at the orange line, which has the months of January, February, March, and April. You can kind of see last year's usage is pretty consistent with this year's usage. And then last year, we really saw the spike in May, and it really continued higher through, really September, October timeframe before it kind of came back to, levels that we saw in prior years.
Right,
So what I did in this table is I call there's a light blue line called the current capacity. And that's kind of where I think our comfort zone is, where we can kind of safely provide water to our customers. And I did break this table up by month. So you can see, our typical usage is a bell pattern, as you see here.
mhm,
And what I did is I took our town's overall usage that's allowed in our water management act permit, and then I added projections, how much water we can withdraw from Springfield water. And I kind of projected that over a full year. And that's how I came up with this bell pattern here. So if you look at that light blue line, that's a thicker line, that's second from the top, and you kind of follow that, you kind of see that's kind of like I said, where our comfort zone is. And you see last year with the green line, we were kind of at our comfort zone or even and above it, for a good part of the year, starting in May, and then really in July and August, before it kind of came back down a little bit.
right, right,
So that's kind of where we're at with our current pumping capacity. Now, we have talked about making improvements. We have a project that's in the queue now that's going to be voted on at town meeting to improve the capacity of our Jerry Dry pump station. And I think with those improvements in place, we get to, that I guess, pink line, the top line. So you can see that, we would be in a much better shape. If we had usage such as last year, we'd be in a much better position to accommodate that usage with those improvements than without.
okay,
So that said, you look at this year's use, we're kind of right along, a little below that comfort zone where we're at
mhm,
with that blue line.
right,
So I guess I think the board should talk about whether we want to do the moratorium, whether we should continue it, whether we should eliminate it, or maybe a hybrid where you continue it for some of the larger connections, larger potential users, until we get these improvements in place, and then at that point we should be in pretty good shape, at least for the foreseeable future, until the next wave of development happens in town.
Yeah, I think
Does
the
our
big,
capacity change throughout the year, like what we can actually deliver, or is that just based on what we have been delivering? You know,
So,
could we
yeah,
supply that many gallons per day every month, you know?
Yeah, we could, John. So and the reason I did it like this is because our water withdrawal permit only allows so much water to be withdrawn per year at
Right.
266 million gallons per year. So what I did is I try to equate that, for a typical each month and how much water we draw per month and what that allocation would be. Yeah, obviously we
Okay,
could
yeah,
pump,
no, I see that.
we could run everything at once, and yeah, we could hit that, close at 50 million gallon number if all of our pumps are on at one time. We don't want to be there, and we don't need to be there. But if we
Yeah,
did
no,
that,
I understand what you're saying. That makes sense with the permit.
Oh,
That
okay,
makes
yep.
Perfect
Yep.
sense. No.
you know, I think the big key is to see what happens at the town meeting before we can proceed with lifting the moratorium, I would think.
I think, so there were a couple of hurdles, right? I think we passed the first hurdle, which was to get the article on a town meeting.
Right.
The second hurdle is to get town meeting approving of those funds. And then the last hurdle was to get through construction, which would include getting through bidding and making sure that, we have enough funding to complete that project. So those are the three big hurdles that I see. We've gone through one. Hurdle number 2 is town meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
That's correct.
And then assuming town meeting passes the article, we can put out the bid documents and move on that way.
Dave, you got any input on this?
I'm just, I have a couple questions about the wells. I mean, I understand this part. I just want to go further down the road and to see where we can gain some capacity for these larger projects. Maybe we can, I didn't know what the pumping capacity for the wells are at present, or what we could actually increase them to before we start pumping sand out of the bottom of the well. So it's just a technical question. How much can we withdraw out of the wells, out of the aquifer, using the 2 current wells we have?
So we have the 2 wells. Well 1 pumps at about, I think, 300 gallons a minute, or just a little under that. And then, sorry, Kevin?
600 for well 1.
Oh, 600 for well 1, sorry, okay. And then well 2, what is well 2 capacity?
I got it running at 800 gallons a minute now, but that
Okay.
would be over 740 gallons a minute is our maximum we can pump 24/7 per DEP withdrawal permit.
Yeah, about 1 million gallons a day, I think, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
it's like
daily.
1,040,000 gallons.
Just over 1 million gallons a day, yeah.
Well, how much can we physically pump?
I could crank it up to 1,200 gallons a minute if needed, but we'd be in violation.
Right. Right.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to maybe showing the DEP that we've got a lot of projects on the table that will be using water, and maybe we can get something done with the water withdrawal permit. And then we look at the infrastructure and see if we can start pumping if we get a larger permit. Looking into the future, not,
Right. Right.
I don't want to, I know we can get more out of Springfield, but I want to make sure that if we have these projects coming in and they're looking for water, that we have some kind of plan to start putting a plan together to give them the water that they need.
Right. To supply them. Yep.
So if we've got a well that can pump 1,200 gallons a minute, we can use that, and we can get the planning board on, maybe get the planning board on our side to try and leverage the DEP to giving us a little more on our withdrawal permit.
Keep in mind too, that is 15 years old, that well. So you don't want it to go down on us either. That could be,
Right.
if we work it too
Understood.
hard.
Yeah, that's why I was I was thinking about the infrastructure improvements and how much we could take out of the well itself if we had the right equipment. So, I mean, I think if we could start thinking about bringing all the equipment up to pump 1,200 gallons a minute out of each well, I think we'd be in a much better comfort zone for these upcoming projects.
I agree.
I'd like to start thinking about that.
Yeah, we can put that on the radar, Dave.
So you want to, as far as the moratorium, you want to hold off until after the town meeting, see what happens?
How pressing is the moratorium right now? You know, are these projects, these larger projects waiting, you know, in 2 weeks? Do they need a response kind of thing? Or can they wait till our next meeting?
So there's some couple large projects, the one we talked about, Project Bailey, and there's also some smaller projects. So there, there was one small, I'll give you an example. There was one project that got approved through the planning board. I think at their last meeting, it was a storage facility. You know, they have an office space and it's just you know, a cold storage facility. So
Okay,
not a lot of water use. I would suspect, you know, a couple thousand gallons a year is probably on the high end. You know, so right now that project could not tie in. And there's a couple other, I think, feelers that I've had for other residential water connections that also would be impacted at this point. The smaller ones, I'm not so as much concerned about. It's the larger projects, you know, at this point that I'm concerned with.
correct.
So could we say, you know, for this yearly capacity water user, you know, no moratorium for this level and above, it would have to be seen before the board up until, you know, our next meeting or whatever it might be, just to give somebody those smaller projects the ability to go, if we think that even with our current infrastructure, we can supply them, you know?
What do you think, Randy?
I'm okay with that plan. I'm okay with that. I mean,
I think it gives them something to see, you know, that we're working on it.
What about just some generic wording in there, just anything anything at or below an average residential use? And just
that-
put the moratorium for anything above an average residential use.
That would be fine.
I
That
think
would
that
be
would,
fine.
I think it would be clear, so people knows that, you know, anyone who's doing a residential size project won't be panicking.
Right. All right, you want to bring that in front of a motion, Dave?
We want to set a gallons, you know, gallons per day, gallons per year. Randy, do you have any?
so a typical, you know, for design purposes, a single family house is, you know, 110 gallons per bedroom. So say a 3 or 4 bedroom house, you know, with, you know, 300 or 400 gallons per day.
Right.
That would be
Right.
typical. So you can make the cutoff, you know, just above that, say 500 gallons per day. If you wanted to do
Perfect.
something like that, that's probably, that would cover most of the residential housing and
So say
smaller.
180,000 gallons per year usage maximum. That's 500 gallons a day, 365.
Yeah, and that's
Well-
probably on the high end. I mean, so those are
That's high.
design numbers. I mean, that's
Yeah, that's a
you know,
high
that's
end.
probably 3 times higher than probably a typical household usage.
But they're gonna come in with design numbers most likely too, so, you know, we can work
Yep.
with that, so maybe
Yeah,
make it
yeah, they will.
150.
Right.
Yeah, and I asked for design numbers too on the application. I tell them, you know, single family, you know, use 110 gallons per bedroom when filling out the application.
Okay.
I like 150, you know, 150,000 gallons per year, you know, estimated usage.
Okay,
That gives them a concrete number to work off of, so I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
that's what I'm looking for, something
Right,
like people can wrap their mind around.
right, right.
Okay, well, I make a motion to extend the moratorium to say, let's go to the first meeting in July,
Okay,
first week of July. And lift it for any application under 150,000 gallons a year.
Okay, I have a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, Ed Johnson, yes?
Dave Meswar, yes.
John Kane, yes.
Okay, motion carries. Christie's our appointment here.
Yes, he was, and
Yeah, I'm here.
there he is.
Okay, William, you've got a 15-minute window. Go ahead and state your case, please.
All right. So I had a water leak. I was notified by the DPW, I think February, that I think at the time it was 10 gallons an hour or something. Got another notice in March that it increased greatly. I had been in contact with John from Crestview about, told him the problem. He said the problem now is your ground is frozen. It was February. So he came at the first available time that he could dig. Spent several days digging actually. Couldn't find the leak. The water table was so high that he hit water about, I think about 3 feet. And the long and the short of it is we never got it resolved till, sometime in April. What is typically, I think my typical water bill is $3 or $3.50. For the 6-month period is 1,130 or 40 for this 6-month period. So quite a substantial increase to my bill. And I was hoping, although it's not your fault or, I guess nobody's fault, but that's a lot of money.
Okay, Kevin, you got any input on this?
Were you able to isolate that leak off in the home? I remember towards the end, we were watching it and, when you discovered it was using, I think it was 160 gallons an hour. You were able to shut it off in the house. And then when you needed water in the barn, turn it back on.
Yeah. So what we did was we shut it off every night. Once the horses were watered for the evening, we would turn it off at 9 o'clock and then turn it back on again about 7 in the morning.
Yeah. So you had control of it.
Trying to save it, trying to save some water that way, but clearly a lot of water loss had been accrued at that point.
Right. Yeah, I see what you did here. We're shutting the water off and whatever at night, and once the horses were all watered and ready to go. Okay. Yeah, you tried to do it. Dave, John, you got any input on this?
Why did you leave it on all day?
Oh, cause we, I
horses.
guess the horses. It's a boarding facility, have people in and out. They want to take care of their horses, scrub their buckets.
Okay,
Whatever.
not running water. Yep, I got you. Okay. So where do you get the 650 from?
I guess it's an arbitrary number, it's gotta be taking a hit and the town taking a hit. And, again, I think it's about $800 more than usual. I think my bill typically is $300 to $350 for that 6-month period. It was 11 and change.
It was 1165.23.
Do we have a prior bill?
Yeah, it's in the packet.
Is it?
Yep.
Christie can pull up his history. It is in the packet. So yeah, his typical bill in the past has been around $300 to $350.
Right. Yep. So, Dave, you got any input on this?
I'd be okay. I mean, what we like to see is somebody taking action, and he took action. So I'd actually be amenable to splitting the difference and giving it.
Isn't there a 10% maximum? Didn't we have a that got voted in several years ago?
Yeah, that was for somebody that had no idea what was going on or whatever. This
Gotcha.
gentleman, this gentleman took action and he knew he had a problem. That's for somebody. Kevin says, well, I didn't know. But for something like this gentleman tried to resolve the issue and shutting the water off at night,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that 10% is just for somebody says, well, I didn't know my toilet was leaking. Well, we're sorry. We told you, some people wouldn't let us in the house, as you know. This is before the COVID. And
Oh yeah.
You better off doing that.
Yeah, so that's what we came up with the 10%, but this gentleman knew he had a problem. He tried to rectify it by shutting it off at night and trying to, save the water for us or whatever, so.
Yeah, I'd be amenable to splitting the difference and
And we ended up, we didn't only, yes, we fixed the leak, but we went ahead and ran all new pipe, all new line. So it's not like we patched the hole and, there'll be another hole next year or 5 years from now. In theory, running that whole new line should make me good for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole line's on a meter pit now too, so you're in good shape that way.
Okay.
Hope so.
So Dave, you're proposing, to
Yeah,
abate him
split-
$325?
no, the difference between the 350, about 400. I think it's gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of,
Well, he's
400.
asking for 650.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head to split the 1161 from his normal bill, 800, and give him a $400, somewhere around $400. Split the difference between the two of us. He takes
Okay.
half and we take half. I think that's would be fair.
So what are you looking at you're talking 400?
Yeah. Let me,
Well, let's see, what his normal bill is 350.
So 1150 minus 350 is 800. So that's 400 each of us.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that's 400. Yep.
I make a motion to abate $400 off the bill.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second the motion to abate $400 off the bill.
All in favor? Ed Johnson, yes.
Dave Meswar, yes.
John Kane, yes.
Okay. Motion carries. We'll abate you $400, sir.
Thank you. I
Hey.
paid the bill already. So how do we proceed from here?
Christie will tell you.
Okay.
So what will happen is this can go on your account as a credit towards next bill.
Okay.
Or you can contact the tax collector's office and they're gonna request something in writing to get a check back. They're gonna need
Okay.
something in writing. So I'll make that adjustment today. So it'll be on your account tomorrow. You can talk to them about that tomorrow if you wish.
And them would be DPW or whom?
It would be the tax collector's office.
Tax collector's office.
Yep,
Okay.
where you pay your bills, the 3 windows.
All right. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
William.
all.
All right. Have a good night.
You bet. You too. Thanks.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Bye.
Okay, Randy, PFAS testing.
Okay, so PFAS testing. So as I mentioned in my report, we took what's called confirmatory sampling back in early April. So the first round of samples indicated a small detect in PFAS. So per Mass DEP, we were required to conduct a confirmatory sample. And we took those and we got the results back. The results, I would say, are very similar to the first round of testing.
Okay.
There really was not much change in the results. There was, again, another detect, but it was small enough where it was below the threshold where we are required to do anything else at this point.
And that's on well
So-
1, correct?
This is on well 1, that is
Right.
correct, yes. So there was a small detect on well 2, but it was below the reporting limit. So that was, even though it's a detect, it's officially it's a 0 reading.
Okay. Okay.
Even though like I said, there was a small detect. So we posted these results on the town website. We're talking about it here today. Other than that, really, there's nothing else that we need to do at this point. I did reach out to Mass DEP to confirm. Starting this fall, we would have been required to start PFAS testing anyways.
Okay.
We did it early through a grant program. So starting in the fall, we're going to be conducting or taking quarterly samples on PFAS. And then depending on that, after that 1 year of testing, we will be required to continue follow-up testing. If our results stay below 10 parts per trillion, I think we drop down to either every 6 months or every once a year testing. If we are above 10 parts per trillion, then it'll be it'll be monthly testing.
Okay.
So if we continue with these levels that we saw, these first two results, we'll be at I forget if it's either 6 months or once a year testing.
Okay.
And we'll probably end up doing that, forever,
Okay.
unless something changes with the results.
Okay.
So that's a good news that we have PFAS, but it is good that, we don't have to do anything else other than continue to monitor at this point.
Okay. Good.
All
Thanks
right.
for the update. Okay.
Yep.
And then we have the locations requiring meter upgrades. We've got what, 15 of them.
Yeah, there was a list in your
Yep.
packet. I think
Yep.
we talked a little about this at the last meeting. So we're gonna, at some point this year, we're gonna reach out to these customers and try to do just another round of outreach to try to get inside and get those meters replaced.
Okay.
So we have been billing them or assessing I think called a manual reading fee, which I'm assuming they're paying. If they're not paying, then it's being attached to their demand bills.
Right. Didn't
So-
Christie say at the last meeting, some of them weren't registering at all, some of the old meters?
There's a handful that aren't reading any longer.
So what are we doing? Just giving them an estimate?
Yes.
Yeah, that's got to stop. That's got to, I don't know how we can pressure them, but still with the COVID, I'm sure we can't. If they don't want to let us in the house, they're not going to let us in the house. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. New business, transmission main borrowing.
So there's a couple of debt schedules in your packets.
Yep.
So I, working with the select board office, so we have this article at town meeting for the transmission main improvements. The total borrow request is $575,000. So we have three schedules here, payback schedules. One is a 10-year, one's a 20-year, and the third is a 30-year payback. So these are in your packets.
Yep.
Talking to Carl, when I did my budget analysis, I was expecting a 20-year payback. Those are numbers I thought were the most palatable from a rate standpoint. So Carl went through our bond counsel, and what they're telling us is because of the value of a project, which is, in their mind small, $500,000 is not a large bond. There's not going to be much interest for a 20-year payback. So they are suggesting that we at least start off with a 10-year note, which would have a higher payback each year,
Right.
higher principal and interest payments. And then what the thinking is, so next year, there's a potential project to renovate the roof at the town hall. That's probably $1 million project, if not maybe a little more. That would be bonded through a similar process. And at that point, we could refinance this bond to be included with that longer note, that 20-year or maybe 30-year note in conjunction with the roof.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we have many options at this point, but that's kind of where the numbers are. We're going to kind of be stuck with this 10-year note, I think, for at least 1, if not 2 years. And then at that point, we can hopefully refinance with a larger project and, to get to terms that are a little more palatable.
Okay. Okay.
So, like I said, when I did my rate study, I was projecting a 20-year note, which was about a $40,000 per year payback.
Right. That's what I thought. Yep.
The 10-year note shows about a $70,000 payback.
Yep.
So
Yep.
a little higher years 1 and year 2. So we're just going to make sure we keep an eye on the budgets, making sure that we bring in enough funds to cover that cost. And we do have a rate, new rates that went into effect last fall.
Right.
And I think the board actually have already voted to increase the rates next fall. It was like a 2-year phased
Right.
approach. So I'm gonna keep an eye on this and then, but I'm hoping that, you know, we have enough money for the next couple of years to cover that gap.
Okay,
$30,000 a year gap,
okay,
payback payments.
okay. Tank inspections.
So we did the inspections through Underwater Solutions. I think you've got a copy of the report in the packet. It was more for your information. There really wasn't a whole lot there. I think we talked about this at the last meeting, just based on their verbal responses to us, you know, during the day of the inspection. But a little bit of sediment at the bottom of the tank. There's some minor surface cracking on the walls of the exterior of the tank, which is normal. And that was pretty much it. I mean, that's very good news. You know, these tanks are meant to be, you know, very maintenance free. And, you know, these tanks are, I think, not at this point, I think they're 8 and 5 years old.
Yeah, 5 and 8.
So
Yeah.
we've had very little maintenance on both these tanks. So, as expected, I guess. I know, Kevin, you were looking to flush out one of the lines. I don't know if you got to that last week.
Yeah, that sediment that's in that picture, I can, I think I can get rid of some of that stuff. It was a Friday though. I didn't want to open that up on a Friday in case we ran into problems.
Yeah.
Well, it should be, the picture towards the back of the packet shows the bottom of the center of both tanks that are full of sediment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I can get rid of that
Okay.
just by flushing it. There's outlets on both tanks that go discharge out into the
Oh,
open
okay.
atmosphere. I can get rid of it.
Okay, good, good. And you said some of it was, the corrosion was what, from the ladder or something you're saying last meeting, Kevin?
Yeah, the chlorine reacts with the aluminum.
Okay,
And it just turns like white, powdery, flaky stuff, kind of like
and that's normal, right? That's
just a pile on the bottom,
okay,
you know.
okay.
It
Okay,
wasn't enough for them to have, they would have vacuumed it out if it was too bad while they were there.
okay, okay. Okay, got anything else to bring before the board, Randy?
No, nothing here.
Dave, John, you got anything to bring before the board?
You know, the only thing I was interested in is coming up with some kind of enforcement plan in case we get a water restriction again, something with a little more teeth in it.
Yeah, yep.
I mean,
I
last year, there was
Yeah,
a
I
lot of,
agree.
it seems like a lot of irrigation going on outside the water restriction, and I'd like to see if we can do something to keep it from spiking over our comfort zone again.
I agree, I agree.
You know?
Randy, can you work on something for the next meeting?
Yeah, I can, yeah, me and Kevin can get together and maybe come up with some ideas.
It'd be
Yeah.
nice if the
And Christie.
meters shot poison darts. We're down a different road with that now, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we do. We gotta get some teeth into that because I saw a lot of watering going on too, in my own street. So
Yeah,
can you get us a proposal, Randy, and we'll talk about the next meeting?
Yep, absolutely.
Good. Okay, Christie, next meeting, June 3rd?
We could do June 3rd. I do have one abatement for the next meeting, and I may have more coming. So I don't know if you want to, wait until June, or if you'd want to hold another meeting this month, which would be the 20th. It's up
Oh,
to you
okay.
guys.
What's it, because of they got their bills are high?
One was, they had a leak. It's a restaurant. They had a leak in a toilet, or I think it was 2 toilets. I'm not sure. They're,
They paid the bill,
abatement-
right?
I'm sorry?
Did they pay the bill already? Were they going to?
Yes, they paid the bill. So, I
Okay.
mean, I guess that could wait. And then I've had a couple other people request abatement applications. I don't have any in hand yet.
Okay. Well, we can set it for the 20th if you want, and if you don't need it, we can just postpone it.
You
Randy?
guys,
Yeah, I should-
whatever you want to do.
I
Well,
should
let's-
be good on the 20th.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah,
around.
that's fine. That works.
Randy's muted.
Yeah, my dogs are barking again. Someone else can go.
Well, let's go for the 20th, and then if we don't need it, we can just bump it up to the 3rd. So we'll just schedule it for the 20th.
That's fine with me. Yep, that works.
And then if the abatements don't come in, if the other one can hold off till June or whatever, we can. So we'll just schedule it for the 20th at 6 PM.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Anything else, gentlemen? Christie, anything? Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Motion.
all in favor, Ed Johnson, yes?
Dave Meswar, yes?
John Kane, yes.
Okay, motion adjourned at 6:45 PM. Thank you all.